press wouldn't agree with Reagan's policy, they genuinely liked him as a person. Part of Reagan's skill came from his natural charisma and glib verbal aptitude developed in Hollywood. But even greater was his ability to relate to people, something he honed while traveling the country for a decade as the spokesman for General Electric. It is said that Reagan could make anyone feel like his best friend, even someone he'd never met before. But more important, he connected with the people closest to him. He truly cared about the people on his team. The chief of staff or the gardener or a secretary would all be treated the same as far as he was concerned, remembered Deaver. They were all important. Deaver related a story that tells much about the connection the two men experienced. In 1975, Reagan gave a speech to a group of conservation-minded hunters in San Francisco, and the organization gave him a small bronze lion as a gift. At the time, Deaver admired it and told Governor Reagan how beautiful he thought it was. 10 years later, Deaver prepared to bring his service to President Reagan to an end after having written his letter of resignation. Reagan asked Deaver to come to the Oval Office the next morning. As the Deputy Chief of Staff entered the room, the President stood in front of his desk to greet him. "Mike," he said, "all night I've been trying to think of something to give you that would be a reminder of all the great times we've had together." Then Reagan turned around and picked up something from his desk. "You kind of like this little thing, as I recall," the President said, his eyes moist. And he handed the bronze lion to Deaver, who was totally overcome. He couldn't believe that Reagan had remembered that about him all those years. That lion has held a place of honor in Deaver's home ever since. Solid relationships. Everyone liked being around Ronald Reagan because he loved people and connected with them. He understood that relationships were the glue that held his team members together. The more solid the relationships, the more cohesive his team. Your best chance for leadership also depends upon connecting with those on your team. Here's how you know whether you have built solid relationships with others. Look for the following 5 characteristics in your relationships. Number 1, respect. When it comes to relationships, everything begins with respect, the desire to place value on other people. Human relations author Les Giblin said, "You can't make the other fellow feel important in your presence if you secretly feel that he is a nobody." The thing about respect is that you should show it to others, even before they have done anything to warrant it, simply because they are human beings. But at the same time, you should always expect to have to earn it from others. And the place you earn it the quickest is on difficult ground. Number 2, shared experiences. Respect can lay the foundation for a good relationship, but it alone is not enough. You can't be relational with someone you don't know. It requires shared experiences over time, and that's not always easy to achieve. Number 3, trust. When you respect people and you spend enough time with them to develop shared experiences, you are in a position to develop trust. Trust is essential to all good relationships. Scottish poet George MacDonald observed, "To be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved." Without trust, you cannot sustain any kind of relationship. Number 4, reciprocity. One-sided personal relationships don't last. If one person is always the giver and the other is always the receiver, then the relationship will eventually disintegrate. The same is true of all relationships, including those on a team. For people to improve relationally, there has to be give and take so that everyone benefits as well as gives. Remember to ask your teammates, colleagues, and friends questions about their hopes, desires, and goals. Give people your full attention. Show others you care about them. And number 5, mutual enjoyment. When relationships grow and start to get solid, the people involved begin to enjoy each other. Just being together can turn even unpleasant tasks into positive experiences. How are you doing when it comes to being relational? Do you spend a lot of time and energy building solid relationships? Or are you so focused on results that you tend to overlook or overrun others? If the latter is true of you, think about the wise words of George Kinzel and Edward Dare in climbing the executive ladder. Few things will pay you bigger dividends than the time and trouble you take to understand people. Almost nothing will add more to your stature as an executive and a person. Nothing will give you greater satisfaction or bring you more happiness. Becoming a highly relational person brings individual and team success. Chapter 2. What do I need to know about others? People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. If your desire is to be successful and to make a positive impact in your world, you need the ability to understand others. Understanding others gives you the potential to influence every area of life, not just in the business arena. Understanding people certainly impacts your ability to communicate with others. David Burns, a medical doctor and professor of psychiatry at the University of Pennsylvania, observed, "The biggest mistake you can make in trying to talk convincingly is to put your highest priority on expressing your ideas and feelings. What most people really want is to be listened to, respected, and understood. The moment people see that they are being understood, they become more motivated to understand your point of view. If you can learn to understand people, how they think, what they feel, what inspires them, and how they're likely to act and react in a given situation, then you can motivate and influence them in a positive way." Why people fail to understand others. Lack of understanding concerning others is a recurrent source of tension in our society. I once heard an attorney say, "Half of all the controversies and conflicts that arise among people are caused not by differences of opinion or an inability to agree, but by the lack of understanding of one another." If understanding is such an asset, why don't more people practice it? There are many reasons. Fear. 17th century American colonist William Penn advised, "Neither despise or oppose what thou dost not understand." Yet many people seem to do exactly the opposite. When they don't understand others, they often react by becoming fearful. And once they start fearing others, they rarely try to overcome their fear in order to learn more about them. It becomes a vicious cycle. Self-centeredness. When fear isn't a stumbling block, self-centeredness often is. People are not self-centered on purpose. It's just the nature of humans to think of their own interests first. One way to overcome our natural self-centeredness is to try to see things from other people's perspectives. Failure to appreciate differences. The next logical step after leaving behind self-centeredness is learning to recognize and respect everyone else's unique qualities. Instead of trying to cast others in your image, learn to appreciate their differences. If someone has a talent that you don't have, great. The two of you can strengthen each other's weaknesses. If others come from a different culture, broaden your horizons and learn what you can from them. Your new knowledge will help you relate not only to them, but also to others. And failure to acknowledge similarities. We all have emotional reactions to what is happening around us. To foster understanding, think of what your emotions would be if you were in the same position as the person you're interacting with. You know what you would want to happen in a given situation. Chances are that the person you're working with has many of the same feelings. If you treat every person you meet as if he or she were the most important person in the world, you'll communicate that he or she is somebody to you. Things everybody needs to understand about people. Knowing what people need and want is the key to understanding them. And if you can understand them, you can influence them and impact their lives in a positive way. What I know about understanding people can be summed up in the following list. Number 1, everybody wants to be somebody. There isn't a person in the world who doesn't have the desire to be someone, to have significance. Even the least ambitious and unassuming person wants to be regarded highly by others. Number 2, nobody cares how much you know until he knows how much you care. The moment that people know that you care about them, the way they feel about you changes. Showing others that you care isn't always easy. Your greatest times and fondest memories will come because of people, but so will your most difficult, hurting, and tragic times. People are your greatest assets and your greatest liabilities. The challenge is to keep caring about them no matter what. Number 3, everybody needs somebody. Contrary to popular belief, there are no such things as self-made men and women. Everybody needs friendship, encouragement, and help. What people can accomplish by themselves is almost nothing compared to their potential.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.